On this episode of the Read Option Podcast, we're talking about the new kickoff changes in the NFL. We're going to give you some funny fantasy football team names, and we're responding to some comments that we got on social media. Enjoy.
Dalton steps up. It's complete. Remarkable.
Cut back outside right 30, 35, 40. Down the far sideline. He's still moving. It's going to go.
Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Welcome back to the episode 7 of the Read Option Podcast. The episode 7. I don't know why I said it like that, but we're just going to roll with it. Anyways, how was your day? How was work? How was everything?
Well, I got a text from the security unit at my job at 5 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, there was a handful of them waiting for me at my desk before I had my second cup of coffee. Thankfully, I drank my first one on the way in. So yeah, it was kind of a busy day getting the security system back up and running at my job. Other than that, I had an hour-long commute to and from Westchester, which gave me an opportunity to really ponder some of the things that we're going to be talking about today.
Sweet. So there
was a silver lining in my terrible day.
All right. So first of all, I didn't tell you we were going to be doing this. We're going to pay homage to Mr. Vontae Davis, who died, unfortunately. I just felt the need to mention that because that's horrible. I have yet to hear how he died, but there was speculation that it could have been taking his own life. Unfortunately, I don't know, but hopefully that's not the case. Regardless, it's such a tragedy, and I think we played against him Seattle played against him multiple times because I believe he played for the Niners.
He did. He played for the Niners, a couple other teams, I believe, but I haven't read any details yet, but he was only 35. And
yeah, it's tough. That's
no matter
really
the
horrible.
Circumstances, that's just awful news. So
yeah, and his brother Vernon, I believe, right? Is that his brother?
I don't know if they're related.
I think it's his brother. Regardless, from what I read, I believe Vernon Davis is his brother, and he's gone through hell through his life. So just another awful thing that he has to go through. So prayers up to him for sure.
Agreed.
Sucks. Really awful. Let's go maybe to a little bit of a lighter note. I just wanted to mention that really quick because I think it was worth mentioning.
Understood.
But kickoff changes is what we're going to start with.
Yeah.
The NFL has officially decided to go the direction of the USFL, or formerly known as the XFL.
And I think they're just the UFL now that they
The UFL. I thought it was the
combined.
USFL. But
I think they combined and made it into the UFL.
Okay, regardless, they have a different way of doing kickoffs in that league, and the NFL has decided that they're going to take that on. And the NFL has had kind of a weird, ugly kickoff kind of way of kicking the ball off. For the past few years, kickoffs almost don't even exist in the NFL anymore because most kickers just kick it out of the back of the end zone. Most people don't get to return the ball ever. And people like Devin Hester don't really exist anymore because of those stupid rules that they've put into place. So this, I think, is exciting. This is going to make for some fun games, and I think it's going to make for some Hall of Fame kick returners if they continue to go with this method.
It seems like it's going to bring back an element of the game that has been missing for quite a few years. So let me just kind of break it down a little bit for you. It's a really weird dynamic, and I'm wondering if teams are going to spend most of their practice time in the beginning of the year during training camp trying to get their hands around this, because there really doesn't exist any other style of play. So I'll just give it to you real quick. I won't bore you with details, but it's still going to be kicked from the 35-yard line.
So same spot.
Same spot. The weird thing is that the kicker is going to kick from the 35-yard line, but 10 of the coverage guys are going to be lined up on the opponent's 40-yard line.
Yeah.
So across midfield.
So you'd assume that would be way easier to get to the guy.
However, you are not allowed to move. You are not allowed to move. You can't even sneeze until the ball is either caught or hits the ground. Okay?
Yeah.
So there's no running start per se like there used to be on kickoffs. So you're frozen in place. It's like a game of Simon Says. You're frozen in place on the other team's 40-yard line. So there's two zones. One is a setup zone and one is a landing zone. The setup zone is on the receiving teams, between the receiving team's 35-yard line and 30-yard line, okay? And those guys are not allowed to move either.
Yeah.
So you have this completely stationary, except for the kicker, and the two guys. There is a maximum of two guys that are allowed to set up in the landing zone, which is from the 20-yard line into the receiving team's goal line. So the ball essentially either goes into the end zone, in which case it's brought out as a touchback to the 30 now.
Yeah, 30, not 25.
Not the 25.
Right?
So
I think that depends, though. I think if it's a touchback that lands in the end zone, and I don't quote me on this because I just remember briefly reading about it. What I think is if it lands in the end zone, it's back to the 30. But if it goes out of the back of the end zone, it's different. I don't know what hash it goes to, but
I probably have it in this mess. Okay.
But I think it, so I don't want to get too crazy with details, but I'm pretty sure it depends on if it goes out of the back of the end zone or not.
So if it hits in the end zone or it stays in bounds and it's returned or downed, if it's down, then it's at the 30-yard line. If it goes out of the back of the end zone in the air or a bounce out of the end zone, it also comes back to the 30-yard line. You're not allowed to fair catch.
Okay.
If the ball hits the ground prior to making the landing zone, which is the 20-yard line, into the goal line or into the end zone, it's treated as though you kicked it out of bounds.
That's what I was thinking about.
And that comes back to the 40-yard line.
40, which is the same exact thing as if you were to kick it out of bounds in previous years.
Correct.
You're going to put Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle back there. Whoever catches it is just going to go crazy fast down the.
Sure.
And I've seen some XFL, USFL, UFL, whatever they're called now, some highlights of them doing that style of kickoff, and they'll even do like end arounds where they kind of like plan it, where they got two guys, one guy runs the ball up and the other guy kind of comes behind him and he hands it off to him and he goes around the other side.
Yeah, like
so you can really do some fun stuff
like a reverse,
because the defenders aren't running full steam ahead at you because they don't get a running start at you.
Right.
It's also safer, and that's really, I think, the main reason that they put the rule into place is because you're not running 150 miles an hour at the dude and then clobbering him.
Yeah, so
you don't get a running start. You're kind of
if your blockers are on the 35, between the 35 and the 30, and they can't move until you catch the ball or the ball hits the ground, and the other guys are only starting 5 to 10 yards in front of them, there's not going to be a whole lot of smash 'em up collisions, it doesn't seem like. Like if you had the guy running from the 35-yard line down to the other 30-yard line full speed, and these guys coming at you just as fast as you're going at them, so I think you're right. It's going to be a lot safer.
Definitely.
And again, as I said at the beginning, I think it's going to add an extra dimension to the game that has not been there in some years.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting to see the way it plays out. So do some of these, number 4 and number 5 receivers that maybe don't get a whole lot of playing time in the offense, like D. Eskridge, who was
Cordero Patterson,
who has been a pretty solid part of the Falcons' offense going 3 years ago. But that was one of his specialties.
Yeah, exactly.
So guys like Devin Hester could possibly exist again.
True. Yep.
It's kind of going to be
definitely interesting
to see how teams actually
utilize that.
Do they use it as a weapon?
Yeah. So anything more on that, or?
No, I think that's going to be it. We have a lot more details, but we don't probably want to go bore them right now.
But
by the way, with that, I'm going to real quick just put in onside kicks are back in business, but you can only do them in the fourth quarter, and you have to tell the referee that you're going to be doing it.
So they're back in business in what way?
So right now,
back how it used to be, or
not how it used to be, unfortunately.
That sucks.
Yeah, if it goes beyond the setup zone untouched, the kicking team is penalized. The return team would start at the opponent's 20-yard line. So they're back in business in the sense of you can only do it in the fourth quarter. They're not really a big weapon that you're going to be able to use.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, I think, and I don't know all the details on it, but I think they're trying to bring back a little bit of the excitement.
Yeah.
Of
so they're
the
not back in
kick.
business essentially.
No,
they're
not
just
100%. Yeah.
They're just back. All right, let's move into something that I think is going to be really fun. We did not share these with each other before we hit record. We're going to give you guys some funny fantasy team names. Now, again, we're not a fantasy football podcast, but we want to incorporate some fantasy football into these episodes. And one of the most fun things about fantasy football is coming up with these stupid, wacky names. And so I'll go first.
Hold on,
so
I just want to interject
we'll
something
go back
here.
and forth here.
My hour-long commute to and from work was spent thinking of some of these. So
wait, today
and
so
yesterday.
you got more for me.
I did. I got more.
All right.
So it was really a fun, creative sort of exercise.
Yep.
I think you guys are really going to like it. And one thing I really look forward to is I think this clip is probably going to go viral. I'm going on record. I'm calling it. And what we want to hear from our viewers is some of your funny fantasy football team names as well.
Yes.
And we'll probably take like the 4 or 5 best ones that people post in relation to our video
and maybe mention them
give them a
next
little
episode,
shout out. Yeah. Cause I think that's part of the fun, because some of these we got from Reddit. Some of these we got regular online websites. Some of these I made up.
Yeah.
A couple of them I made up, and I'm going to apologize right now just cause I think I made them up. I'm sure that these exist somewhere out there.
But they came from your brain.
But they came from my brain. I hadn't heard them before, except the ones that I definitely read from Reddit.
Yep.
A couple of them, I will warn you now, are not safe for work.
We'll mention which
scale
ones,
those back towards the end of it.
Yep.
And I have one special one that is truly the highlight of my creativity. I think you're going to love it. It absolutely makes no sense. It absolutely just expands beyond generational players.
But it's funny as hell.
But you're going to be like, dude, that's a classic. That's
Nice.
an instant classic.
All right.
Okay.
So if you're on
without
TikTok,
any further ado,
if you're on TikTok, Instagram, if you follow us anywhere, Facebook, YouTube, definitely watch out for these clips and be sure to comment down below any clips, whether it's the funny fantasy teams, whether it's any of the other clips that we're posting. Feel free to comment and engage. We would love to hear what you have to say about any of this.
Absolutely.
So, funny fantasy teams. I'll start. Alien versus Deshaun. Now, when I first told you this one, this was the only one that I did mention to you. Alien versus Deshaun. I'll give the listeners a second to think about that. Think about movies. Alien versus Deshaun. Now, if you've never seen Alien versus Predator or any of the Alien movies, I've never seen any of the Alien movies, but Alien versus Deshaun Watson, Predator, I think you could put two and two together.
You get the idea. All right, so I'll go. And this was actually a team name that I had for a team a few years back.
Before you continue, feel free to use any of these names in your fantasy football league. Don't feel like these are copyrighted or anything. Use any of these that you think are funny.
So I actually had these guys on my team in one of my money leagues. Play on words. A Kittle Mahomes cooking.
A Kittle Mahomes cooking.
Like a little home cooking.
A Kittle
Mahomes cooking.
And that was your actual fantasy name one year?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. All right.
Bed Bath and Bijan.
Ooh, I'm gonna double up on that one and go to Affinity and Bijan.
Damn it, I had that one too.
I know we probably have a lot of
Tua Infinity.
Tua Infinity and Beyond.
Nice.
Bijan.
That's a good one. All right, I'll go with another kind of I guess 4-in-1, we'll say.
Okay.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yes, very good. My friend speaking.
A little je ne sais quoi.
How about Laporta Potty?
That's good, but that means your team stinks.
He probably had a different name up until like the last few weeks when he knew he wasn't making playoffs.
I'm going to go with Olave Garden.
Ooh.
Olave Garden.
Yes, and how about a game of Mahomes?
A game of Mahomes. Nice. I like that one. CDs, TDs.
Oh, and I'm going to double up on that one and go with CD3PO.
Oh, that's good. Nice. The Home Depot.
Oh, I didn't see that one. That's
good,
a
right?
great one. I love
Home
it.
Depot.
How about Eckler? Hardly knew her.
Oh, gosh. That might be on the edge of the
cutting edge.
NSFW.
That's PG-13.
Yeah,
we'll get into
PG-13,
the
we'll get
R-rated
into the
stuff
R-rated
here in a
stuff,
little
yeah.
bit.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
I like that. How about Red Solo Cup?
Red Solo Cup.
Yep.
What am I missing here?
Cooper.
Cup, Kupp.
K-U-P-P,
Red
yes.
Solo Cup.
Yeah.
I'll fill you up.
Yep.
All right, and my last one. I'm sure have a few more.
I have a bunch more.
I got this one that I made up. Nakua Matata.
Ooh, I like that one. Yes, you can actually sing a song to that if you wanted to.
Nakua Matata.
Here's one that'll be near and dear to your heart. Tyriki Blinders.
Tyriki Blind. Oh, that's amazing. My phone case. Let me see if I can zoom in on this for you in post. I don't know if you can see it. My phone case, Peaky Blinders.
Huge fan right there.
If you're watching on YouTube at home,
So I have a bunch more, and I can just rattle some of
rattle
these
them off. Yep.
So Car Chase.
Car Chase. Gotcha.
Yep. Hot Chub Time Machine. We have some musical ones. Hit Me With Your Prescott.
Ooh.
More Than a Thielin.
Yep. That one's a classic.
Yep. Stairway to Evans.
Nice.
Baby Chark Doo 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 Doo. Of course, everybody
That
goes
one
with that one.
is a classic.
It
The
is.
Fantasy Footballers podcast. They coined that one.
Nice.
So
Very
shout out
nice.
to Andy, Mike, and Jason.
There you go. Yippee-ki-yay, Justin Tucker.
That's great. I like that one.
Joe Buck Yourself.
We're moving into the NSFW now, or
We're
Not
getting
quite,
there.
not
One
quite.
more.
All right.
Dude looks like a Brady.
nice.
All right, now we're getting into the not necessarily safe
So if
for
you're
work.
listening in the car with your kids, maybe skip
Yeah.
past this part.
Okay, here we go. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right. Love that big Doc energy. Big
Doc.
Dak energy. Yep. Kamara Sutra.
Kamara Sutra. Oh my gosh.
This one's a bad one. Caught Kirking Goff. Okay,
Oh, no.
this one I made up.
Okay.
After Vegas, my Dak hurts. Okay, and we are down to the last one.
Okay.
This is the one
This
that
is
I
the
made
greatest
up.
one of all time.
This is spans generations.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little lead in.
Sure.
It's a song that you really like by the Beatles.
Oh boy.
And I hope my tongue doesn't mess this up because I practiced
Say
for about
slowly.
an hour in the car.
Slowly.
I almost have to sing it.
All right.
Large Pepper, Stokely, Chark, Chubb, Fant.
That's amazing. I knew you were going Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club
Yes.
Band because I do love that song. I love that album. Say it one more time.
Large Pepper, Stokely, Chark, Chubb, Fant.
Yeah, you really have to span generations for that.
No
one.
doubt. We go all the way back to Largent.
you're
and we
right.
hit Peppers and
It doesn't
Stokely.
make any sense.
No, but
So are you going Peppers like Julius Peppers?
Julius Peppers.
So some leagues it wouldn't even make sense at all because that's a defensive player.
It's
so
true.
most
But
leagues it
Brandon
wouldn't make
Stokely,
sense. Yep.
DJ Chark, Nick
Steve
Chubb,
Largent.
and Fant. So
Dude, that's a good one.
I had fun making that one up. If nothing else, I had fun.
Props for that one. That was a good one. All right. Moving into our next segment, right? That's
Yep,
all for you?
That's it for me.
All right. We're going to do a fun little segment. I had this idea the other day. I don't have a name for it, but basically the idea is I'm going to give you a name and you're going to tell me what you would look up if you were searching for them on YouTube. So, for example, we'll get into our first one. You're looking up Julio Jones on YouTube. What are you searching for?
Oh my gosh. The Super Bowl catch, the tiptoe on the sideline. 2nd and 9 at the 50. Ryan scrambles out of major pressure, throws a perfect BB on the sideline. First down at the New England 22-yard line with a little over 4.5 to play. Game over. Right?
Wrong.
But if you watch that, and I picked it up on YouTube in like 14 different angles, his body was bent in half. He was this close to hitting the ground with his head coming down straight, and somehow he kicked his toe down. The body control was something that it has to be, not only just forget about the circumstances in the scenario, it has to be one of the most athletic catches I've ever seen.
And it was in the Super Bowl.
And in the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Forget about even all that. Just one of the most athletic catches I've ever seen.
And will go down as a Jermaine Curse catch.
Yes.
Where no one remembers it because it didn't matter.
Because you lost.
It
So
did
what
not
about
matter.
you?
Julio Jones mossed Luke Kuechly against the Panthers.
That's another
This
highlight.
was a highlight. It was a regular season game, but he was in double coverage with one of his other receivers wide open down the field, and Matt Ryan chucks up a Hail Mary to Julio Jones in double coverage with Luke Kuechly, and I forget who the other defender is, and Kuechly's about to intercept it, one of the most athletic linebackers ever,
Sure.
running stride for stride with Julio Jones, one of the best wide receivers ever.
Yep.
And Julio Jones is behind him, so he has to come back for the ball and just reaches over his head and mosses him, runs into the end zone and puts on the Jets.
Oh, you've
throws
been
the ball
mossed.
back. Somebody in the comments of that video said Kuechly got baptized and put on the back of a milk carton at the same time. Do you get the milk carton reference?
Yeah, he was lost.
He was a lost child.
MIA.
Yep.
Oh my God. That's great.
That's amazing. Okay, next up, you're looking up DeAndre Hopkins on YouTube.
Oh,
what are you searching for?
Without question, the Hail Mary. Oh, Cardinals, Hail Mary versus Bills 2020. Kyler Murray, with some Houdini escape moves, chucks it up, 13 seconds left, chucks it up, and DeAndre Hopkins goes over 3 Bills defenders in the end zone. One of the Bills defenders has his hand on the ball, and Hopkins just manhandles it away from him. 1 second left, game over.
I'm going to disappoint you.
What?
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh, 2020. It was because we don't remember anything from the COVID
2020.
year.
Was it a tip ball or no?
No.
Okay, so I
He went
definitely
up in
do
the
not
middle
remember
of
that.
3
I
guys.
think I vaguely
and ripped
remember
it down.
that, but damn.
So if you watch the video,
I will.
check out Kyler Murray's escape Houdini
I'm sure it's
moves.
amazing.
It was outstanding.
Murray's a great quarterback.
Yeah, but great.
Good, he's a good quarterback.
He's one of the more athletic
as hell. Yes.
No doubt about it.
Yes.
So how about you?
All right. I don't know if you'll remember this because it wasn't a play. It was not an NFL regulation game whatsoever. This is when DeAndre Hopkins absolutely torched D'Angelo Hall in a practice session after D'Angelo Hall talked crazy shit to him.
Didn't he break his ankles or something?
So D'Angelo Hall walks up to Hopkins all high and mighty, and he's like, "You ain't shit," and Hopkins doesn't say anything, and he runs this. I think it's a curl route, and Hall just falls backwards and then gets on all fours, and he's just punching the ground because he got injured. And Hopkins is like, I told him.
That doesn't surprise me.
You shouldn't have messed with me.
Oh,
and D'Angelo Hall was not a bad cornerback either.
For years, he was fairly solid.
But
absolutely.
Hopkins was just, he was just in his prime. He was amazing.
Oh, he was sick.
All right, last one. You're looking up Marshawn Lynch on YouTube. What are you searching for?
Oh, you know what I'm going with, man. I don't even have to explain it or describe it because anything I say will not do it justice. But Beastquake, Saints 2011.
Beastquake, Saints 2011.
Yep.
That's a playoff game.
Yeah.
And the Saints were good that year.
And the Saints were defending champions that year, coming into that year.
Yes.
So
and Seattle had no business really.
And Seattle,
beating them.
I think, was 8-8 or 7-9. I think they won their division under 500. But
so I'm going to hit you back with Beastquake 2.0 against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So this was a regular season game. The stakes weren't quite as high, but borderline
just
identical.
Sick a run.
It was borderline identical. If you watch those clips back to back, he throws down the same 7 people, runs down the sideline, and then grabs his junk going into the end zone.
Right. I remember he did
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, 2
Amazing.
Beastquakes, man.
Yeah,
oh
2
my
Beastquakes.
Gosh.
Almost identical.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
One of the, look, I can't put him up there in the top 10 running backs of all time, but man, did I love to watch him run.
Yeah.
For the 4 or 5 years that he was studding out in Seattle, he was just so fun to watch. It would have been so much fun to watch him have one more carry.
Super Bowl win.
One more carry. One more carry that
Yeah,
year.
that'll haunt us forever.
Forever.
We could win 7 Super Bowls and it'll still haunt us.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
I'm just going to bring this up because I thought this was a fun little bit of trivia.
All right.
Did you know that Ben Roethlisberger, has more than double the yards, double the touchdowns, double the completions, and double the attempts as Terry Bradshaw, but has the same amount of interceptions, 211 for Ben and 210 for Terry?
Dang.
So we looked this up a few days ago, actually.
Yeah.
And I think you had mentioned, well, it was a different era back then. You know, they were throwing the ball downfield. They were chucking the ball downfield. His yards per attempt was probably higher. But if I remember correctly, looking up the stats, Ben's yards per attempt were actually higher than Terry Bradshaw's.
Correct.
Ben was just, look, nobody's mistaking Terry Bradshaw for one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
No.
I don't think.
No, he played on one of the best teams of all time, but
And
certainly
won 4
was
Super Bowls with
not
them.
Tom Brady, certainly was not Joe Montana, where his excellence was what won them the Super Bowls.
Yeah. So Ben, on the other hand, might be top 20 of all time, if not maybe 15, because stat-wise, he's in the top 10 for,
Sure.
I think, yards at least, and maybe touchdowns.
And he has
as
1.5 Super Bowls as well.
1.5. Well, nah, he has one.
Yeah, he has one.
Let's say he's one.
He's got 2 rings, but one Super
Bowl win. Yeah. The other one was abysmal. But
So the
we
only
won't
thing
talk
I
about
might
that
say
again.
about that is, yeah, they did throw the ball downfield an awful lot. The yards per attempt don't bear that out. But you also have to remember, in that day and age, the defender was really allowed to maul the receivers.
This is true.
Yeah.
And Ben was he was like on the edge of that era, not really, because you still had Ray Lewis and guys like that were just beating
but they
people
were
to death.
still.
But the NFL when Ben was playing was a little bit softer.
It was absolutely coming in. I mean, Peyton Manning benefited from it. Tom Brady benefited from it.
It's worse now than ever.
It's worse now than ever.
But when they were playing, it wasn't nearly as crazy.
Yeah,
as it
so
used to
that's
be.
the only thing I might say is that, and Bradshaw was playing in an era where you were allowed to play defense. You are not allowed to play defense anymore.
No, not really.
You can't tackle the quarterback. You can't go low on the wide receiver. You can't go high on the wide receiver either. You can't dislodge the ball from a defenseless receiver. So you certainly can't nudge the receiver. You can't breathe on the receiver. I mean, so it is terrible now, but it wasn't quite that bad when Roethlisberger was playing, but when Bradshaw was playing,
it was crazy.
You had some mean people playing defense.
True.
And they let them get away with pretty much, unless you decapitated the guy, they were really
Almost
allowed to
anything you
pretty
want.
much hit you wherever, whenever. Defenseless receiver, they would tell the ref the same thing that I would tell him now. You got 2 choices. Either defend yourself or catch the ball. You can't do both. And the referees very rarely called any holding. Holding was not. And interference was only if you tackled the guy before he had a chance to catch the ball. So much easier game that a lot of the quarterbacks now play. Because think about it. Every 3rd and 10 you go for that you get a free first down on, number one, that incompletion doesn't count. Right?
True.
Against your stats.
Against your stats.
So, and also you get a fresh set of downs.
True.
So now you're 10 yards closer or whatever.
And if, let's say it was picked off, it's no longer a pick.
That's right. It's no longer a pick. True. So every time you get that third, and let's face it, the Seahawks give up 4 or 5 of them every game.
Yeah.
So you think about that. That's 4 or 5 times maybe 16 or 17 games.
Yeah.
Dude, you're getting up in the 75 to, maybe 85 passes per year that either would be incompletions maybe and now don't count, or get intercepted and now don't count, or so
almost like reverse stat padding.
I think so. Yeah. That's just my opinion on it, but
That's
I
fair,
think
that's
it's
fair.
so much easier now because you look back then, if Dan Marino threw for a 60% completion, I was like,
damn,
this guy's the best guy in the league, and he's just barely hitting 60. Now you got Drew Brees throwing for 73 every year. It's like no big deal. So you're going up by huge degrees, it just can't be. And plus the offense has scaled back because you're throwing the ball sideways more now than you ever did back then. Screen passes and little bubble screens and, stuff like that. So definitely different era. Certainly stats that are eye-opening.
Yeah.
To think that
And
he pretty
let's
much
be
has
honest,
everything double.
Roethlisberger is the best Steelers quarterback of all time.
Oh, without question.
Bradshaw, I wouldn't put him up there.
No, he'd have to be number 2.
Obviously, because there are no others.
There are no others, right?
Then you're talking about Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett.
David Woodley back in my era.
Yeah. Or Mitch Trubisky. So put that to rest. Everybody who thought that Terry Bradshaw was better than Ben Roethlisberger, you're wrong.
You are wrong.
All right, we're going to respond to some comments now.
Okay.
On our TikTok, on our YouTube, we get comments.
Sure, we'll go
from
through
a
this.
lot of different people.
We'll go
and
through this kind of quickly, I think.
We'll try to go through this quickly, but we want to respond to some of the things that people are saying.
Sure.
Whether it's good or bad, we just kind of want to touch on a few comments.
Agreed. And I don't think we want to make this a contentious thing.
No.
I'm just going to bring up points that why did I think the way I thought?
Yep.
And certainly it's open to discussion and debate from everybody because everybody's got a different memory. Everybody's got different thoughts on the game that was played, maybe different eras, stuff like that. So,
Yep. And if you, recognize your comment, feel free to comment again and we'll continue the discussion. So first comment. This is in regards to, I believe, Sean Alexander. Yeah,
Correct.
Sean Alexander. You had mentioned that you put Sean Alexander and Emmitt Smith in the same sentence, and I believe this commenter thought that you were comparing them. He said, 5 years behind an offensive line that allowed him to take sweeps and never be touched. That and so many clips of him cruising for 15 and then running out of bounds. Emmitt Smith had clips of him running into a mob of players, shooting out the other side. He bounced off tackles, stutter steps, spun off of hits, and looked amazing. Very different tape with Smith. Smith's talent was far superior to Sean Alexander, and this is coming from a Seahawk fan. Good running back. Not sure if I would put him in the Hall of Fame.
absolutely couldn't agree more. The only thing I did was compare them both running behind absolute all-time great offensive lines.
Sure.
That they both benefited from that.
Sure. So maybe a little bit of misunderstanding on our
maybe I didn't-
commenter's side,
sure,
or maybe
maybe-
you didn't explain yourself correctly.
Maybe I didn't articulate myself. Now, the 5 years that Alexander had with the Seahawks, that were his best years, they were phenomenal. But they were only 4 or 5 years, whereas Emmitt Smith racked up a decade and a half
most
worth of
rushing yards.
Yeah,
of
a
all time.
decade and a half. So, no, not even close to comparing Emmitt Smith and Alexander, other than to say that they both got to run. Walter Jones and Hutchinson, you could put them up there with the line that Emmitt Smith ran behind.
Sure.
So that's the only comparison I was making between them two.
Yep.
Alexander, very good running back for a short period of time.
But not
Emmitt
Emmitt
Smith,
Smith.
great running back for a very long period of time, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Sure. And Emmitt Smith probably be just as good behind any line.
Yes, I think me and you could block for him. He'd still get positive yards.
Yeah. All right. Next comment. Moving on. This was in response to a video about Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis being one of the best defenders in the league of all time.
It was if you had to pick a defender to for the
All
Super
time
Bowl
to help your team win a Super
help
Bowl.
your team win the Super Bowl.
And this guy said, "Got to go Troy," in reference to Troy Polamalu.
Yep.
He beat the Ravens in that championship game. With that fact, he's better than Ray. Big players make big plays on the biggest stage. And I believe that was an actual quote from either Ray Lewis or Troy Polamalu. I forget
probably
which one it
was, yes.
But he mentioned that it was a quote from one of those guys. I couldn't remember who he was talking about, though. In my opinion, Troy versus Ray Lewis, you're not really playing against each other. They're both on defense, so
true.
you're not fighting each other. You're playing the same side of the ball essentially. So
Agreed.
That's my take on it. It's not really Troy versus Ray Lewis, and again, different positions as well.
That's true. I wouldn't disagree with Troy Polamalu. Absolutely, no question, one of the best. Ray Lewis has more personal accolades throughout his career. He made the Pro Bowl 12 times, Polamalu 8 times. Ray Lewis, I think, was All-Pro 7 times as opposed to 4 times for Troy. I'm not arguing that Troy Polamalu does not belong in that conversation. He absolutely does. No question about it. I just saw Ray Lewis as, that was just my opinion. I saw him being a dominating player. And I think he played a few more years than Troy did. I think Troy, towards the end of his career, was he played fearless just like Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
But he started to get banged up, I think, a little bit. Maybe if he had, so 2 Super Bowls for Ray, 1 for Troy. I'm not going to argue. To me, that's 1
a team
and 1A,
game.
in my opinion, because Troy Polamalu was
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. No question.
It's hard to argue for either one or against either one.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
All right, last comment that we got. This was in reference to the trade or rather Brian Burns being traded to the Giants and then paying a ton of money for him. And we mentioned that was not a good trade and that they're paying him too much money. So this commenter said, the Giants used the picks they got from Seattle for Leonard Williams to get Burns. Burns is 5 years younger with more sacks. Money well invested. Disagree.
I disagree.
Respectfully.
I respectfully disagree for one primary reason. Giving up the picks is fine. It's the money that you invested in him, and the point was money well invested. Burns is the second highest edge rusher now in the NFL behind
paid edge rusher, yeah.
Second highest paid behind Nick Bosa.
That's crazy.
So he's making more money than Myles Garrett. He's making more money than TJ Watt and Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Max Crosby. He's making more money than all of them per year.
Guys that have shown that they're more than just potential.
Guys that are double-digit sacks pretty much every year. So I think the Giants overpaid for Burns for a guy that's only had double-digit sacks once.
Yep.
And he came off a year where he only had 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
$85 million guaranteed.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
I will acknowledge that with the cap going up and with the prices of some of these other guys like Chris Jones banking $160,
sure,
that the tier has gone up for signing. Even Leonard Williams, the Seahawks signing Leonard Williams for over $20 million a year.
Yep.
So the tier has definitely gone up. I just don't think Burns has the track record to give him that kind of money.
No.
That's my opinion. I hope he pans out
kind of
well
a
for the
project.
Giants, but maybe mixed in on a good scheme. Because don't forget, he was playing with who? The Panthers?
Yes.
So Panthers, right?
Yeah.
So
might have had to do it all himself.
the Giants have a fairly good defensive line. If you fit him in there, maybe he does tally you 12 or 14 sacks next year, just playing in a better scheme, playing with better talent around him.
Yeah,
but
I still need 16 out of you if I'm paying you $85
That's true.
million guaranteed.
You're paying to find out.
Yeah, you're paying to find out.
That's the problem. You're paying to find out. And I know that there are contracts like that in the NFL these days where you're paying to find out whether he's going to live up to it.
Yeah.
I think I would not have done it quite that high.
But guess who most of these contracts are coming from is dysfunctional organizations. Most of these organizations that like the Giants, and I forget there was a few others where who paid for that offensive lineman?
I think it was the Panthers.
Rob Hunt, right?
I think it was the Panthers.
Yeah,
maybe.
so like these dysfunctional organizations who are overpaying these players who either aren't going to be the main reason that they become a better team or haven't even proven themselves yet. So
Yep.
you don't see the Chiefs going out and signing a guy who doesn't put up crazy numbers every year for tons and tons of money. The guys who they pay tons of money to are the ones who already did
Are
it.
the proven track records.
Yeah, and that's the difference
You're
between
Travis
an organization
Kelce,
who wins,
you're Mahomes, and you're Chris Jones.
and you're Chris Jones. Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
All right, so little comment section segment there. If you saw your name or didn't see your name but noticed your comment in there and you want to reply again, feel free. I love to keep the conversation going. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. And at no point do I ever want to disrespect the opinion of anybody else.
No.
We're just giving a little back and forth as to what we think versus maybe what the commenters think. And certainly we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I certainly would never challenge somebody on that and just say, oh, this is my opinion. This is what I think.
Yep.
And again, Burns may drop 16 next year. It could,
So
it could very well do it.
All respect to anybody that's commenting and keeping the conversation going.
Absolutely.
Let's jump into, dude, what are you talking about?
All right. I think you have at least
I have
one
from
me.
You have any now?
And I have one
You
for
do have
you.
one.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
So I'm going to go with, dude, what are you talking about? Ready? One of the most badass things ever done in NFL history, in my opinion. Jay Cutler, when he was coming into the NFL out of college, quarterbacks are not required to bench press at all to show off how much they can bench press. This is for running backs and offensive linemen and other categories, other groups of skill position players and whatnot. Jay Cutler, he offered himself up as, I'm going to do the bench press anyways. He totally was like, yeah, screw it, I'll do it. Jay Cutler bench pressed 23 reps at the combine. To give you a little perspective, Joe Alt from this past combine, who is 6'8", 350, I think, bench pressed 27 reps.
So hold on. What was the weight that we're talking about?
I believe it's 250 or
Is it
225 or something.
all-
Everyone benches the same.
Everybody benches the same, and it's just a matter of how many times you can put it up.
Yep.
Wow. Dude, what are you talking about? A quarterback? And we're not talking about a quarterback that looks like Cam Newton.
You're
Right?
talking
Or
about-
Anthony Richardson.
You're talking about Dad Bod Jay Cutler.
Dad Bod Jay Cutler. Oh my gosh.
Holy crap. Smoking cigarettes in the back of the combine and then putting up 23 reps on the 225 bench
Probably had
press.
a beer next to the smoke,
Yep.
everything.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
dude.
Just probably one of the most I don't give a shit quarterbacks of all time.
He played like it
He
too.
did, and he did not care.
Unfortunately.
Remember the Dolphins when they ran the trick play? He was strung out wide as like a wide receiver
And he didn't even
decoy,
move.
and
He
they
didn't-
snapped the ball, and he put
He
his
just
hands
put
on
his
his
hands
hips.
He didn't
He
even
does
move.
not care.
No, it's like, yeah, that's stupid play. I'm not running it.
Yeah. All right, dude. What are you talking about for you?
I absolutely I made a mistake. I have a 2 truths and a lie for you. I do not
All
have a
right,
dude.
all
What are you
right.
talking about?
So then I think we'll jump into mini games then. So how about you start with your mini games? What are we calling them again? What are we calling those fantasy facts?
Oh, so we're gonna call them triple Fs. Fun football facts.
Fun
We're just
football
gonna
facts,
go
all right.
that. Okay, so this will be really quick, but I thought they were interesting of note because you guys know I love stats. So did you know? We could also call it Did You Know? Did you know that Juwan Jennings, Joe Mixon, Antoine Randall L., Trey Burton, Lawrence McCutcheon, and Robert Newhouse all have as many Super Bowl touchdown passes as Dan Marino?
And I'm going to assume it's one.
One. Can you believe that? Yeah, Dan Marino threw for 300 and something yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks in his lone Super Bowl. But
Oh, man.
you know that cast of characters: Juwan Jennings, Joe
Yeah.
Mixon, Antoine Randall L. Absolutely, I believe was a quarterback in college.
One of the best Super Bowl plays I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
he
it was
threw a-
the only good play from the Steelers in that.
It was the only one we couldn't really complain about.
Sure. And Juwan Jennings, I think, was last year.
Yeah,
This past year.
this past year. Yeah, I threw it to McCaffrey.
Juwan Jennings, he's kind of an underrated player. He's kind of like our Jake Bobo, where he just comes up with a clutch play whenever you need him to.
Agreed, and he's like 9th in the depth chart over there, right?
Oh yeah. You don't even most people don't even know who he is.
Yeah. So I have one more triple F fun football fact for you. Nick Foles has as many Super Bowl touchdown receptions as Julian Edelman.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
4 Super Bowl appearances for Julian Edelman, only 1 touchdown reception.
Yeah.
Nick Foles has him tied.
And I think Edelman's had at least 1 or 2 good Super Bowls statistically,
He has.
just
And
not the touchdowns.
his best one was against who do you think?
And he had a touchdown against
The
Seattle.
Seahawks
Yeah.
against us, of
I
course.
think he might have had the go-ahead touchdown against
Yeah,
Seattle.
it's certainly possible.
Unfortunately.
But anyway, fun Super Bowl facts. Fun facts right there.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna do some trivia for you. Do you have any trivia or just the 2 truths and a lie?
I have a 2 truths and a lie for you.
All right, I'm gonna do my trivia. You do your 2 truths and a lie, and then
right.
we'll wrap things up.
Sure.
Baker Mayfield currently holds the record for the most wins at First Energy Stadium, or the Browns' home stadium.
Browns home stadium. Okay.
Do you know who held the record before him?
So a quarterback that, oh my God, it's the Browns. It has to be an opposing quarterback. Oh my gosh, it would have to be an opposing quarterback. It's not even a Browns quarterback, is it?
It's a trivia question. I can't tell you.
Well, there are these things called hints.
Yeah, true.
So
But I usually give you
Baker
hints, so-
Mayfield had the most, and then who has the next
Yeah.
most?
Who had it before him?
Oh, wait, time out. Are we talking Browns Stadium?
Yeah, Browns Stadium.
Okay, so they must have. All right, I'm gonna have to clarify this because the Browns had 2 really good quarterbacks back when I was growing up, and that would be Bernie Kosar and Vinny Testaverde.
First Energy Stadium.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you're talking about. So I have no idea when First Energy Stadium
Gotcha.
came into existence.
Okay. So
that's the
I
clarification.
I
needed.
couldn't tell you exactly. You want me to look it up real quick, give you a little bit more of a chance
a little bit
get
more
this right?
more
All right,
context.
First Energy Stadium. First Energy Stadium is home to the. Okay, they opened in 1999.
1999. All right. Ben Roethlisberger.
You got it.
I knew it was an opposing quarterback.
Yep.
I knew it.
Is that crazy or what?
That is
oh my gosh.
That is not unbelievable in my opinion.
It's not, but to like a casual football fan, that's probably the funniest thing that I've ever heard.
Absolutely. Some dude
gosh.
comes in and has the most wins other than your franchise quarterback.
Yep.
Oh, that's terrible.
No. Well, he had it before Baker Mayfield.
Oh my
Mayfield
gosh.
broke his
took
record. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is.
Oh, that's
that
bad.
is humiliating.
That's really, and you got to
Oh
think
my
too,
gosh.
because the Browns didn't have a consistent quarterback for years.
I know.
So they didn't have a chance to put up enough wins to beat
know.
Roethlisberger.
And let me
it was
tell
like
you
Deshaun
something.
Kaiser and freaking.
yeah.
I don't even know who else is in there, but there were multiple quarterbacks.
Oh my gosh!
thrown
I'm
in
sure
there as well.
Brian Hoyer was in there
He
somewhere.
He might have been there.
He's the poor man's
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Brian Fitzpatrick,
It's true.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Dang.
All right.
That's
Two
pathetic.
truths and a lie.
I'll hit you with 2 truths and a lie. Okay.
NFL edition.
All right. So first, and apparently he's a common theme throughout this
Baker
podcast.
Mayfield?
No, the other one. Ben Roethlisberger is the youngest QB to win a Super Bowl at age 23. Josh Allen was drafted number 7 overall 2 years in a row. And in 2012, when Calvin Johnson set the record for receiving yards in a season, he had more yards than the rest of the team receiving combined.
All right. Ben Roethlisberger. So Pat Mahomes was not very young when he won his first Super Bowl because he sat behind Alex Smith for a year. Russell Wilson was probably 24. I'm trying to think of any other quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl recently that were young. So 23. I'm probably going to go with that one as a true statement. Nah. I'm going to go with that one as the lie.
So is that a guess? I mean, what's your reasoning?
My reasoning is
Who do you think might have been younger than Roethlisberger?
So my reasoning is I know number 2 is true because Josh Allen, they came into the league year after year and were drafted number 7. The Calvin Johnson one, he had
1,984 yards, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one being true. I believe that one's true. I don't remember any other notable receivers on that team from that year, unless like Anquan Boldin was there or something. But I think he joined the Lions at the end of his career. I don't know if I can think of the quarterback that has that record, but I'm pretty sure it's not Ben Roethlisberger. But I know that Ben Roethlisberger, he won against Seattle for his first one, I believe. Is that true? Yeah, he beat the Cardinals for a second one. Whew. All right. I'm going to go with that one as a lie, but I can't give you the other quarterback.
But it's not a strong
commitment. One. I'm going to commit to it, but I can't tell you who the other quarterback was.
Okay. You are incorrect. Roethlisberger is the youngest QB to win a Super Bowl at age 23.
And the freaking Calvin Johnson one was the
Calvin Johnson, yeah, by about 1,000 yards. So Stafford threw for 5,000 yards. He threw for 49.82 or something that year.
Oh man!
So there was another almost 2,000 some odd yards to go around.
Yeah.
So it wasn't by a lot, but it was pretty dang close.
Who were the other notable receivers on the team? Do you know?
They had like 3 or 4 other guys that caught for 400, 500, 500.
Damn.
But none of them, obviously, 1984.
No, that's crazy. And do you know who I think the second all time?
I think
wasn't one singular
I think
season.
that's Cooper Kupp.
I think it was.
I think it was Cooper Kupp, and I had him on my fantasy team.
He was 19
and I
something.
Still didn't win the league.
Oh my gosh!
I also had Michael Thomas the year he broke the record,
and you
didn't win the league.
No. It took you. It took DeMar Hamlin dying in order for you to win.
Stephon Diggs getting 0 on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, no, that's it for this episode. You don't have any more trivia for me, do you?
I don't think I have any more trivia. Let me just scroll through the bank here. I think that is probably going to do it.
All right, cool. Let's wrap this up then. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Read Option Podcast. We appreciate you. Again, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. We're all over that. So if you want to watch our clips, especially the fun fantasy football names, definitely go on TikTok, Instagram, follow us, and keep up to date with when that drops so you can drop your funny fantasy football names for us. But that's going to do it for this episode. So we're going to sign off here. We got Razorback Jack.
My Dak Ertz.
Razorback Jack and Tommy Touchdown signing off. We'll see you next time.
Next time.
Thanks for listening to the Read Option Podcast, hosted by Tommy Touchdowns and Razorback Jack. Produced by me, Tommy Touchdowns. Remember to follow us on all our socials, including Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, at the Read Option Pod.